Yeah, once again, welcome to Chidana Auto Channel, where you learn about your vehicle, get vehicle tips and information as well. As promised, this is the part 2 of the drive system that I talked about. In my other video, I talked about the front wheel and the back wheel. And then today, I want to discuss the all-wheel drive and the four-wheel drive system. And then in extension, I will also explain either in this video or in the next video, whereby you have part-time four-wheel drive and full-time four-wheel drive. And then we also have what we call the four-wheel drive squared. That is not very common. But today, basic aim is to, have the basic knowledge as to all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. I'll be discussing the two of them almost simultaneously so that we can understand it that way. Now, if you look at this diagram, it's all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is a system whereby basically the vehicle drives you with either the front or the back, depending on the configuration the vehicle manufacturers choose. And then, as the need may be, through the use of some sensors, the four tires will start working at the same time. What do I mean? Some vehicles that are all-wheel drive may have back wheel as the basic configuration, while some will have the front wheel drive as the basic configuration. But either based on the need, because maybe you're driving at a place that is slippery or something, the four tires will be engaged and they will start driving. If you look at this, you see the engine, you see the gear, you see the front differential. It's not as if it is this long, but normally the front differential connects the driving shaft with the gear. Now you have the center differential and you have the rear differential. You now have the front axis and the rear axis. So what it means is that this vehicle may start under normal driving mode. It will either be driving the back wheel or the front wheel. But when you enter into a place that is slippery or maybe undulating or something, the vehicle will then activate it. And then in some newer vehicles, they use all-wheel drive system to drive the vehicle, especially when you want to activate launch control. Launch control is something they build in vehicles that are, they call it sports version of those vehicles. I will still discuss that later. That sports version makes it that for those vehicles that have all-wheel drive system, and then you activate that launch control, means that you're telling the vehicle that you want to take off as fast as possible. In that case, if the vehicle is equipped with all-wheel drive system, the four tires will take off and drive that vehicle all at the same time. It's a new technology and it makes the vehicle move faster at that takeoff speed. Now, bear in mind, as I said, all-wheel drive system makes it that the vehicle can drive in the front or the back or in the four tires. But there is something that is of very importance on this all-wheel drive. The power in the vehicle is not shared evenly. For front-wheel drive vehicles, basically power is shared between the two wheels 50-50. For back-wheel drive vehicles, power is shared equally at the back 50-50. For all-wheel drive vehicles, it does not share power evenly. Ordinarily, it's supposed to be 50 front, 50 back, which is the power that the engine or the differential is sending to the various tires. But this one does not share evenly. It either shares 60-40 or vice versa, or 55-45. The best in the sharing formula, I think, is a Mercedes Formatic, which gives about 45-55, but it does not share 50-50. BMW, in their xDrive design for all-wheel drive, shares 60-40. Toyota also shares, I think, 60-40, meaning that if it's giving 40 to the front and 60 to the back, these two tires will have 40, meaning they will have 20-20, whereas the ones at the back will have 30-30, meaning that the ones at the back would have more power to pull the vehicle than the ones in the front. But now, when we come to four-wheel drive, if you see, this is a much more complex diagram than this. Most four-wheel drive vehicles are heavy because of all these things that they have added to it. You can see there's what we call transfer case. You can see the front differential, which is also here. You can see the center differential that is also here, and the rear differential. But this does not often have a transfer case which is connected by this. Now what this transfer case does is to split the power evenly, which is 50-50, meaning that at every point in time this will have 25, 25, 25, 25. So power is shared evenly in the four tires. One thing is that four-wheel drive vehicles are better equipped for off-roading than their all-wheel drive versions. The place that a four-wheel drive vehicle will get to and get stuck, in fact, all-wheel drive may not even get to that place in the first place. So for vehicles that have four-wheel drive, power is split even between the front and the back tires. And as I said earlier, such vehicles are heavier. Then, in among these four-wheel drive vehicles, we have part-time four-wheel drive and we have full-time four-wheel drive. Part-time four-wheel drive are those that have almost the same configuration like the all-wheel drive, meaning that they drive the back wheel first or the front wheel first, and then if you have need, you can use the gear or a button to engage the four-wheel drive system, and then at that point the transfer case comes alive. It will now split the power. Instead of maybe if the vehicle initially drives with the back, it will be giving back full and nothing here. But this time, once you get it engaged, what it means is that it will split the power coming from the engine through the gearbox. It will divide it so that the back tire will have 50, the front tire will have 50, meaning that the four tires will have the same power and they will be turning at the same time. But for vehicles that are full-time four-wheel drive, these are vehicles that have both the configuration of the all-wheel drive and then the four-wheel drive system. What it means is that for those vehicles, at every point in time, the four wheels are moving. For the full-time four-wheel drive vehicles, the four tires are moving, meaning that at some point, the front will have 30 or 70 or 60 or 40. But then if you have need and then you engage the four-wheel drive full-time mode, that is when it will now split the power evenly in the four tires. You have that in some Toyota Land Cruiser. It's an option which you have to pay higher for. You have that in Mercedes G-Wagon. You have that in Toyota Land in Lexus 600 or so, Lexus 600, and some other big SUVs. That is normally where you see the full-time four-wheel drive system. And then I also mentioned about the four-wheel drive squared. In that one, it's not common. You see it on some, specifically, it's normally made for specific purposes. You have it in Mercedes G-Wagon. I think Mercedes were among the first to develop that technology, whereby another axle is added to the four tires. Normally makes the vehicle have a higher rise than the normal four-wheel drive vehicle, because apart from this driving shaft that connects to this, in fact there's another axle on top here in which this axle or driving shaft connects to that one now connects to the tire. The car has a higher ride and it can enter anywhere, and in fact for such vehicles, getting stuck is almost out of the question unless he has entered somewhere that is very swampy that will cover the whole vehicle. It will be difficult, but generally for vehicles that are 4x4 squared, they are the kings when it comes to 4x4 vehicles. So basically, what I've tried to explain is all-wheel drive vehicles normally do not have their power split evenly compared to four-wheel drive vehicles. Once you engage the four-wheel drive option, the power is split evenly for the four tires. This normally makes use of sensor to get it activated. This doesn't use sensor most times. It uses either a gear or a button for you to get it set up in your vehicle. So it's all dependent on the one you go for, either dependent on your route or something. But bear in mind, vehicles that have this sort of driving system are normally heavier than their counterparts that do not have it. What this means is that they will consume more fuel for you, and often some of them may not take off as fast as possible unless they've been equipped with the launch control, which I mentioned earlier. If they are equipped with that launch control, normally the four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicles take off faster than their two-wheel drive counterparts, even if that two-wheel drive has launch control. So these are the basic drive systems or drivetrain that we have. Get to understand them, and then when you're buying a vehicle, if you intend to, or even the one you're driving, get to understand the type of drive system it has. It will help you to better manage the challenges you would have. These that have more parts will definitely cost more when it comes to repairs compared to the other forms of two-wheel drive that we have, which is either the front or the back. This also will cost you more, but when you talk of repair for any of these things, this will cost you more, and that is why they normally put it on high-end brands of their SUVs, which is meant for those who could afford it. So if you could actually afford it, then they expect that you should be able to afford the cost of the maintenance or the repairs that you have to do on them. So if you have any question concerning this or any comments, kindly put it in the comment section. And then if you learned something and you appreciate the video, kindly like and then subscribe if you have not done so. You can also recommend the video to someone else who may be in need of it. So I believe I've been able to clear the doubt or what you need to know basically as to the difference between all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in my next video. Thank you.